Hello and welcome to the Addicts Anonymous podcast. I'm your host, Jamar. Today's episode 137, and we're interviewing Tim L. How are you doing today, Tim?
Doing great, Jim. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate you having me on to be able to share my story with everybody.
No, I'm happy to do. We were just having a bit of a conversation, and you're, from what I found out, a professional podcaster. I was kidding around saying.
This is my 47th one within this year. And I've got 4 more this month. I already got 3 booked for next month. And it's just extremely important to get our stories out there, because one more person that we can help is one less person that could ultimately lose their life to suicide, mental health, or addiction.
Yeah, I heard a great saying that I like is that we recover out loud so people don't have to die in silence.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah, I saw that and I remember that. It was a great saying. But yeah, let's get going here. Tell me about your childhood and growing up.
Yeah, it was a pretty normal childhood. My father was a police officer. He was a police officer my entire life. He retired after 37 years. My mother actually was a professional bodybuilder when I grew up.
Really?
And my uncle was a 3-time Mr. Universe winner. My cousin I live in Maryland, so my cousin was Mr. Maryland for a couple of years. So I grew up around fitness and bodybuilding my whole life. Now, at the age of 7, my mother and father did get a divorce. And my father was pretty much out of the picture when I was in 1st grade. And I remember thinking it was my fault. I remember asking, why did my dad leave when I'm so young? And I have a brother who's 10 years older than me. So I'd always be like, why did he leave me when I was 7 and my brother's 17? Like, what did I do to make him leave? And I held on to that all the way up into my 40s. Like, I used that as a reason to drink and drug, because I would tell myself my father didn't love me. I was the reason my parents got a divorce. He was the reason he left. Why didn't he show me attention? Why didn't he come around and spend time with me?
My father. That must have been really hard.
It was, and I thought it was all me. I really did. I was like, what did I do wrong? I'm a good boy. I didn't get in trouble. I had straight A's and B's in school. I played baseball in elementary and middle school. I was like, what was the problem? And I remember as a young kid, him calling and being like, hey, I'm coming to pick you up, bud. We'll spend the weekend. And I would wait at the front door for an hour. And then a second hour would go by. And then we get the phone call. Oh, I'm sorry, I can't come this weekend. I got to work, or something came up. That happened so many times that when my mom would say my father was coming to get me, I wouldn't even pack my bag because I didn't believe it. And it really made me feel like nothing, like I wasn't worth anything to my dad. Now, when I got into middle school, my mother married my stepfather, and they actually ended up staying married for 27 years. So I actually grew up more with my stepdad than I did my father. And he was a good role model. He was into bodybuilding as well. He was a salesman. He made really good money. Took me out on the boat, took me fishing, actually showed me how to build and be a carpenter. That's actually what I do now. So a lot of things that I learned and carried with me in life, I learned from my stepfather, not my actual dad. But it wasn't until I got up into my 40s and me and my mom were sitting down and we had a conversation. And I'm like, why didn't dad love me? And she's like, honey, she's like, your father did love you. She said, you had nothing to do with it. Your father was running around with me with other women, and I couldn't take it anymore. She's like, your father is selfish and egotistical and self-centered, and that's just the way he is, and that's the way he's always been. She's like, but it had nothing to do with you, sweetie. She said, and I really wish you would have came to me 20 years ago, and I could have told you this, because you could have let go of that a lot sooner than you've been doing. She said, I never realized you were holding on to this for 30 plus years. And I did use that as a crutch sometimes to drink and drug. I was like, well, my dad ran out on me. I'm not no good, so I might as well I might as well drink or get high. It wasn't until I got into more athletics. I became a Golden Glove boxer and a junior Olympic boxer. I was almost a professional skateboarder. I grew up here in Baltimore with Brandon Novak and Bucky Lasser, and we skated on the same skate teams. That's pretty much all I did for like 5 years. I skateboarded and every single day, and that's what I wanted to be until I started drinking and doing drugs. Once I started drinking and doing drugs, all my sports stopped. I didn't care about anything other than going out and getting high and drinking with my buddies. And it didn't dawn on me that my life had changed that much until, my mom brought it to my attention. Tim, you don't play sports anymore. All you do is go hang out with your buddies, and you're cutting class and you're missing school and your grades, you're almost failing out of senior year. What's going on? I'm like, oh, well, I signed up for the Marine Corps. I knew I wasn't getting into college. So I'm just having fun, Mom. It's not a big deal. I'm going away next summer to boot camp. So I'm just going to get it out of my system. And she never really put two and two together. She kind of just let me do my thing. She was working 2 to 3 jobs sometimes just to take care of me. My brother had done moved out. He was in his 20s, and I'm all going through high school. So it was just me and my mom and my stepdad. And she was working a lot, trying to bring, money into the house. And I would come home and let myself in the house and fix my dinner and pretty much be alone for a lot of the time, most of the time. So I had plenty of downtime to have friends come over or me go to their house and, smoke pot or do LSD, mushrooms. I was smoking PCP.
How old were you the first time you ever did anything?
The first time I ever did anything, I was in 7th grade, and I went to my friend's house, and he lifted up his mom's mattress and found a joint underneath of his mom's mattress. And I remember him saying, "You want to go outside and hit it?" And we went outside, and me and him, and it was him and his brother, and we're all sitting there, and we're all like, "Who's going to do it first? Who's going to do it first?" And I was like, "Screw it, I'll try it." And I remember hitting it twice, and he hit it twice, and his brother hit it twice, and we put it out and put it back underneath the bed. And I remember walking home, and I was like, "Am I high? Am I not high? Oh my God, is my mom going to catch me?" Like, I started having anxiety, and I didn't touch drugs again or nothing until my senior year of high school. So it was just kind of we kind of dared each other to hit it. And so we kind of did, but that just wasn't for me at that time. I was still in sports and stuff. So I think I kind of just did it to be fun and hanging out with my buddies just to try it. Now, 9th grade, I did go to a freshman welcome to high school party. One of my buddies had it. And one of the seniors there was able to get alcohol and provided it to all of us. And that was the first time I ever tried alcohol, was in 9th grade. And I got super drunk. And the next day I was throwing up, the hangover, the whole deal. My mom came and picked me up, and she noticed I wasn't feeling good. And she's like, "You drank last night, didn't you?" I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "Well, I wouldn't feel right punishing you because the whole rest of your day is ruined. And that's more of a punishment than anything I can do to you." So the rest of the day I was throwing up. I was sick. She gave me a paper bag to throw up in, and we were having a cookout that day. And she gave me a paper bag. She made me shuck 50 ears of corn for the cookout. And that was pretty much my punishment. She's like, "Here, you can throw up in this bag and shuck the corn and put it in that bag. And I hope you learn your lesson." And I did, because I didn't touch alcohol again until my senior year. But like I said, when the senior year came around, I was like, man, I'm going in the Marines at the end of school. As soon as I graduate, I'm going away that next week. And I was like, I'm gonna start going to parties and having fun. So I started going to parties, started drinking, started smoking pot. LSD was huge in the 90s. So I was dropping acid and mushrooms. And believe it or not, PCP was around in my high school. And I did that a handful of times when it was around. And if anybody had a pain medicine or pain pill, I would take that.
How is PCP? I've never done that.
It's like LSD and I would say alcohol. So you have that, you feel invincible, kind of like you're strong and you don't give a shit what happens, and you think you can take on the world, and then you crash and you feel like crap. So that's the best way. And you kind of have this in and out of body experience, almost like an LSD trip. So you're like seeing things that aren't there. you feel super strong, you're like amped up, ready to go. And it only lasts for like an hour or two, and then it's just gone. So you would want some more, do it again, you know what I mean? But it wouldn't last long. I remember one night I did it, and my stepfather came in drunk, and he didn't drink that often. Like, he was not a big alcohol guy. There wasn't alcohol in my house whatsoever. And I remember him coming home, and he was drunk, and he was yelling at my mom. And I'm 18. I'm getting ready to go in the Marines. I'm in pretty damn good shape. And I'm like, Mom, he's not going to yell at you like that. And I remember her saying, Tim, he's drunk. You can't do nothing about it. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, she has no idea I just smoked PCP. I could rip this dude apart because I feel like a superhuman at this time. And she stumbled up the steps and went to bed. And it was just kind of like, man, I could have just really messed him up if I really wanted to. But it kind of de-escalated. I went downstairs and just smoked a joint and watched TV for the rest of the night. And it kind of went away. But PCP was it just, when it came around for like a 6-month period, but I would do anything as soon as I got alcohol to my lips. As soon as I had 2 or 3 drinks in me, I was like, what else is here? I'll try it. Now, luckily, cocaine and heroin wasn't around in my senior year. Like, I'd never even seen it. Nobody talked about it. It wasn't around. I couldn't get it. But what was available, I would try, because I was open to anything once I got a couple drinks in me. I was like, let's go. Let's go pick up some girls. Let's go get in a fight. Let's go break into cars and steal stereos. I didn't care what it was. When I had that alcohol in me, I was ready to go for anything. It's when I got into the Marines, that's when the alcoholism got the worst. The drugs stopped, because I had to get drug tests and all that stuff. So the drugs completely stopped. But once I graduated boot camp and we got stationed in North Carolina, as soon as we got done at 4 o'clock, we were at the bars, we were at the strip clubs, and we were drinking. And we're 18, 19, 20 years old. But the motto at all the bars outside of the base were, if you're old enough to take a bullet for this country, you're old enough to have a cold beer. So they would serve us as minors. And their only stipulation was, you can't stand there with a beer in your hand in case the authorities walk in. You could order your beer or shot or whatever you're drinking and drink it, but you had to sit it back down on the table just so you weren't physically seen holding an alcoholic beverage. But they had no problems serving us at underage. And when we went to these bars, we would see our sergeants there. And these guys are late 20s, early 30s. And they would be like, have fun. Just make sure you're up at 3:30, 4 o'clock at formation, ready to go. We don't care what you guys do. Just don't get in trouble with the law and make sure you're on time at formation in the morning. So for us as young guys, we're looking up to these older guys. We're like, man, this is kind of, I guess this is what we do. We train hard, and then we play hard, and it was kind of expected of us. So there was no kind of like deterrent from these older guys. Oh, you guys shouldn't be drinking. We have stuff to do tomorrow. They were just like, we don't care what you do. Just make sure you're up. In 95, my unit got deployed to Somalia for Operation United Shield. This was right after Desert Storm. So the war had ended, but we were there as a peacekeeping mission. So I actually got to see the ramifications of war and what it did to human beings and buildings, and how it affected another country. And it stuck with me for a while. It really did. It bothered me a little bit, but not as much as I thought until I actually got discharged from the military. So at the age of 20, I get discharged and I get home. The first month was awesome. I was like, man, I'm out of the military. I think I get up at 3:30 in the morning. I'll have to run 4 miles today. I don't have to wear a certain uniform. I can come and go as I please. I moved back into my mom's house. And within that month, I was like, I can smoke pot again. I'm home. I no drug tests. So I was drinking and smoking pot. The first month was awesome. It was kind of like a decompression period. The second month home kind of hit. And I was like, man, I got to get a damn job. I got to get a car. I got to start paying bills, helping my mom out. And I got to start looking for a place to live, because I'm 20. I really shouldn't be living at home anymore. And the third month came and I got severely depressed. I stopped showering. I stopped shaving. I didn't want to leave my room. I was drinking and smoking pot in my bedroom. And I found myself one day not knowing what my purpose was, not knowing why I was here. What the hell am I going to do with the rest of my life? And I went into my stepfather's armoire and I grabbed his gun and I sat it on my lap and I was looking at it and I was contemplating using it. I called my girlfriend at the time and I told her what I was doing. And she was at my house in like 5 minutes. She comes over and she's like, you got to put that away. What are you doing? I was like, I don't know. I'm lost. I don't know what's going on. I'm severely depressed. She put it away. My mom comes home like an hour or two later, and I told her I was severely depressed. I didn't tell her I just had my stepfather's gun in my lap and I was contemplating using it. I didn't want to scare her. I didn't want her to have me committed. But I told her I was severely depressed. There's something going on. So she made some appointments for some doctors. I got in to see some doctors, and they diagnosed me with bipolar 1 disorder and manic depressive. Now, in 95, 96, PTSD was not looked at like it is now. They didn't have a determination of PTSD in the 90s. When you got out of the Marines or you got out of the service, they discharged you and set you on your way. And there was no psychology or go see a psychiatrist of what you've seen and went through. They were pretty much like, thanks for your service. See you later. So PTSD wasn't a thing in the 90s like it is now. I'm sure the government knew about it, but it wasn't taken care of the way it is now. So the doctors wanted to put me on medicines. I started taking the medicines, but I wasn't indulging to the doctors that I was drinking every day and smoking pot. So after about 3 to 4 weeks, when you had to go back and do a checkup with the doctors and my medicines weren't working, they couldn't pinpoint why. So their solution was, well, let's up the milligrams. Go back another 3, 4 weeks. What's going on? Medicines still aren't working. Okay, well, maybe they didn't work. Let's switch you to these medicines. Go back for another checkup. What's going on? Okay, well, maybe they didn't work. I went on this cycle of switching medicines, switching milligrams, adding things, taking things off for years because I was never truly honest with the doctors, telling them that I was drinking and smoking pot. So it didn't matter what type of psychology medicines they were going to give me. Nothing was going to work because I had drugs and alcohol in my system. It wasn't going to allow those drugs to actually help my bipolar and depression. This went on all the way up until I went into rehab in 2021.
Well,
So for the next,
I'm also bipolar. So
yeah,
I feel your pain. And I used to say it like this: I was depressed because I was drinking, and I was drinking because I was depressed.
100%.
Just,
Absolutely.
it's just an endless cycle. It sounds so cliche, but it really is an endless cycle, and it's a vicious one.
It is. And you're like, man, what I used to be, what is wrong with me? Why do I have bipolar? Why is my mom normal? Why is my brother normal? What's wrong with me? Why do I have to suffer like this? And I would look down upon it, and that would make me drink and do drugs because to me, there was something wrong with me. Why couldn't I just live a normal life? Why did I have to get bipolar? Why do I have to be a manic depressive? My friends aren't. What's wrong with me? And that knocked my self-esteem down, the way I felt about myself. I felt, worthless, that there was something wrong with me, and they couldn't figure out how to take care of it. I didn't realize it until I started to get sober that I was the one who was making it difficult for me to get on the proper medicines because I was an alcoholic and drug addict. I got out at the age of 20. From the age of 20 up until I was about 40 years old, so 20 years, I had 46 jobs. And that's all due to my bipolar and alcohol and drug addiction. I would have a job for 3 months and quit. I'd have a job for 6 months and call out sick. And then my anxiety and panic attack would come in. I'd call out another day, then call out another day, and then just wouldn't go back. And that was a cycle for 20 plus years. And God loved my wife. She would never look down on me. She would just go get another job. She was never like, I'm leaving. That's enough. You can't hold a job. She knew I had bipolar, manic depressive. She knew I was drinking every day. And to be honest with you, I look back on it a lot and I'm like, why in the hell didn't she leave? Because I sure as shit put her through so much stuff over 27 years. And I asked her when I got sober one day, I said, why didn't you leave me after all this time? And she simply said, because I loved you and I knew you could always be the man that I once married. So for all that 20 plus years that I've been with her, she never gave up on me. When I gave up on myself, she always saw the person that I could be when I never saw it myself. And that was the addiction, the mental illness. And it got so bad that in my 30s, I had lost my umpteenth job. And my wife looks at me and she's like, what are you going to do? She's like, this is like your 15th or 20th job since you've been home. I was like, I really don't know. I was like, I really don't. And she said, what would make you happy? And I was like, I kind of miss doing sports. I was like, hey, I'm 32. I'm still kind of in good shape. I would like to do some sports. And she's like, well, what do you want to do? And this was when mixed martial arts was getting really big. And I said, I think I want to go fight. I was like, it's been a long time since I put gloves on or been in the ring with somebody. And I said, that really made me feel great about myself. And she's like, I'll give you 1 year. Go train, see if you can get some fights, see if you can make something of this. But after a year, if nothing happens, then you have to go get a job and like enough's enough. And I'm like, okay. So she gave me a whole year. I went down to the local gym down here. I started training. I started getting fights. Within that year, I was fighting in Atlantic City and in Philadelphia, Harris Casino. I was fighting on TV, local televisions. I had sponsors. But I wasn't making that much money. I was making like $1,500 per fight, which is not a lot. And I was fighting once every 90 days. So it wasn't like a huge income, but it was making me feel as if I was, worth something. I kind of was like, man, I can do something with myself again. My last fight, I fought for 2.5 years. My last fight, it was coming up on my 35th birthday. And my last fight, I tore my rotator cuff. And I get out, I go to the locker room, and I'm starting to put my shirt on, and I can't lift my right arm. So my trainer comes over, helps me put my shirt on. I go out to the crowd, and my wife's out there. She's like, how you feeling? I was like, And she noticed I'm holding a drink with my left arm, and that's not my dominant arm. My right arm is my dominant. She's like, why are you holding your hand? Why are you holding your drink with your left arm? And I'm like, I can't lift my right arm. She's like, what do you mean? I said, I did something wrong. I said, something's bad. She's like, oh my God, you got to be kidding me. So I go to the doctor the next day or two, and I had torn all the ligaments in my shoulder, my rotator cuff. So I had to have major rotator cuff surgery. And that's what started my 4-year-long addiction to pain medicine. Go have surgery. And it was a 9-month rehab. And for those 9 months, we're talking, this is 10 years ago, so I'm 46 now. They didn't stop giving you pain medicine like they do now. You would just go to your doctor and be like, I'm still in pain. And instead of them trying to wean you off, they were like, well, what are you taking? I'm taking Percocets now. What milligrams? I'm taking 5. Well, let's try 10s. I do that for a month or two. Then I'd go back and be like, the Percocets are hurting my stomach. I need something a less little, it doesn't make my stomach upset. Okay, well, we'll switch you to hydrocodones. So then I was on hydrocodones for a couple months. And I'd go back and be like, the hydrocodones just don't do what the Percocets did. It didn't take the pain away. So finally, their all-time, decision was, you know what, we'll just put you on Oxycontins. They'll take care of you. And since the 10 milligrams won't work, we'll put you on 20 milligram Oxycontins, and we'll just monitor you from there. So for the next 3 years after that first surgery, I had to have 2 neck operations. I didn't realize it, but I tore ligaments and tendons in my neck. I had to have 2 neck surgeries. I had to have 2 hernia operations. And I tore all the ligaments in my arm. I had to have major reconstructive surgery in my right arm. So over that span of 4 years, I had 5 major surgeries. And they just kept giving me this pain medicine, giving me this pain medicine, giving me this pain medicine. And I was drinking about a 12-pack of beer every single day on top of this medicine. And like every good addict, I wasn't taking the medicine 1 every 4 hours. I was taking 2 or 3 every 4 hours, finishing my prescription 2 weeks earlier than what I should be, and going back to the doctor and giving them some bullshit story like, oh, my dog knocked it over. I dropped it in the toilet, it dropped in the sink and got wet. And they would just give me new prescriptions. And I'm in my bedroom one day and I'm thinking about everything that's going on. I'm like, man, not only am I an alcoholic now, I'm a freaking drug addict. I'm taking all this pain medicine. I can't stop. And I got scared. And I'm like, man, this is how people die. I take 10, 15, 20 milligram per Oxycontins a day, and I'm drinking a 12-pack of beer. I'm going to freaking die in my sleep one night. And I got scared. And I told myself, you know what, if I'm going to die, I'm doing it. And I'm not going to let the drugs and alcohol take it from me. So I go in my bedroom and I open up my bottle of oxys that I had left. I had 18 of them. And I took the whole bottle, took all 18 of them. And I drank a 12-pack of beer in like 2 hours. I just guzzled them. And I laid in my bed and I remember saying, please don't let me wake up because I can't do this anymore. I just want the pain to stop and I don't know how to get help. And I woke up the next day. I wake up the next day and I'm like, oh my God, I woke up. Why am I here? What the hell is going on? And I go into the bathroom and I had a whole nother refill in the bathroom. I had 30 of them in my bathroom. And I open up the bottle and I dump the whole bottle of oxys down the toilet and I flush the toilet. And I look at myself in the mirror and I'm like, I don't care how bad this gets. I'm never taking pain medicine again. And for the next 10 days, I was probably the sickest I have ever been in my entire life. Throwing up, nausea, insomnia, the sweats, the jitters, couldn't eat anything. But every morning when I would wake up, I would look in that mirror and tell myself, I'm never taking pain medicine again. Like, enough's enough. So I was able to stop the pain meds after 4.5 years by myself. But now I'm missing something, because I'm used to drinking and taking my pain medicine and smoking my weed. So now I'm missing the pain medicine. So I'm not feeling right. I'm searching for something now because I needed something to fill that void of that pain medicine. And I'm lost, man. I'm like, what the hell is going on with me? So I get in my truck one day and I decide to go take a nice ride down at this park by my house. And people go there and go picnicking and walk their dogs and take their boats out and go fishing. It's a really nice place. And I'm driving through it and I get around to this bend where my senior year of high school, my best friend lost control of his car and hit the tree and unfortunately lost his life at the age of 18. And on the tree is this picture and there's a book there and you can write to him and talk to him, kind of like a little memorial for him. And I park my truck and I get out and I walk over to the tree. And I'm like, Bill, I don't know what to do. I can't stop drinking. I've lost so many jobs over the years. Me and my wife aren't getting along. I don't know my purpose in life. I just need to know that I'm not alone, man, that I have a reason to be here, that somebody's watching over me. There's something else out there other than me because I truly don't know why I'm here and what my next step is. I don't know what I'm doing. Just please give me a sign. And I get back in my truck and I go to leave the park. And I'm crying. I can barely drive. So I pull over. But instead of pulling over how traffic's going, I pull over on the wrong side of the traffic, facing oncoming traffic, and I park. And about 10 minutes goes by. And this car pulls up. And we're hood to hood, bumper to bumper. And I'm watching this man get out of his vehicle. And he opens the back door and he gets his dog out and he's getting ready to go over to where the water is and walk his dog. And I'm looking at this man. I'm like, oh my God. And I get out of my truck and I said, Mr. Bill, it was my best friend who had lost his life in 1996. It was his father. I hadn't seen him since 1996. This is March 16, 2017, 21 years later. And I said, Mr. Bill, and he looks at me and he says, Timmy, what's wrong? And I fall to the curb and I'm crying. I'm like, I'm a drug addict. I'm an alcoholic. I don't know what my purpose is in life. I'm lost. I don't know why I'm here. And he walks over to me and he puts his hand on my shoulder and he says, Tim, I'm not supposed to be here this morning. My wife came to me in a dream last night and told me to come here at 10 a.m. to walk the dog. I'm supposed to be in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina on a family reunion. I was supposed to leave at 6 a.m. this morning, but my wife told me to come here at 10 a.m. to walk the dog. That's the only reason I'm here. And I said, Mr. Bill, I just stopped at Billy's tree and asked him to give me a sign to tell me that I wasn't alone, that there was something else out there. And he says, Tim, I think I was here to see you this morning. I can't explain that experience that happened that day. And for about 10 minutes, I was like, okay, everything's going to be all right. I'm going to be fine. I'm being watched over. My addictive personality and my mental illness then stepped in and said, well, you don't have to stop drinking. You don't have to stop smoking pot because somebody's watching over you. Nothing's going to happen to you. You're bulletproof now. So I leave the park. And for the next 4 years, I drink the most alcohol I have ever drank in my entire life. The beer wasn't doing it. The Miller Lights, the Bud Lights, the regular beer wasn't doing it. So I switched to the IPAs, the lagers, the beers with 10%, 11% alcohol. I was still drinking 12 of them a day. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to start getting some whiskey. I'm going to start getting some shots because I'm still missing something. So I'd start off with 3 or 4 Fireball whiskeys. And I would take them real quick. And that would give me that feeling, that hot, warm feeling that the pain medicine used to give me. Mm. So I was like, man, okay, I found it. There it is. I like this. So I would start off and buy 4 or 5 of them and guzzle all 4 or 5 of them and then still drink my 12-pack for the day. Well, I started to gain weight. My skin started turning red. And I started feeling like crap. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to stop drinking beer altogether. So I'd wake up in the morning, I'd go to the liquor store, and I'd get a sleeve of Fireball whiskey, which is 10 of them in a sleeve.
That was my modus operandi. That was my MO for quite a while.
Yep. And I would drink all 10 of them before 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Go to work. As soon as I got off work at 3:30, I'd stop at the liquor store and I'd get 10 more of them. And I would drink all 10 of them by 8, 9 o'clock at night. Before I went to rehab, I was buying 3 sleeves of Fireball whiskey and drinking all 30 of them a day. For over a year, I was drinking 30 Fireball miniatures a day. And I took it out one day to see how much alcohol I was actually drinking. And one of those miniatures is 2.5 shots. So 2.5 times 30, I'm drinking 75 shots a day of Fireball whiskey. What got me into rehab was I just got a new truck and I'm leaving the liquor store after getting my sleeve and I hit something. And I have no idea still to this day what I hit. I don't know if it was a parked car, if it was a wall on the side of the road, a stop sign. I have no idea. But I get home and I tell my wife, I just hit something. I'm going to bed. I don't want to deal with it. So I go to bed. And like every good alcoholic, I wake up the next morning. Good morning. I'm going to go to the store and go get some milk and some water. You need anything? And she's like, how are you going to do that? And I'm like, in my truck in the driveway. And she's like, go look at your truck, Tim. I go outside and my side front tires hanging off the rim. My side mirror is completely gone, stripped off the truck. And I'm sitting there looking at my truck. I'm like, what the hell happened last night? She pops her head out the front door and she says, you have no idea what you hit last night, do you? I said, I don't remember anything. She said, you could have killed yourself. You could have killed somebody else. I don't want you here anymore. You have to go figure this out, but you cannot stay here anymore. I can't do this anymore. So I go in the house and I pack my bags. I call my buddy. I'm like, hey man, wife just kicked me out. Can I come there for a couple of days? Let things blow over. Because in a couple of days, I'll be able to go home and continue my drinking. Just give it a couple of days. It'll be okay. And he's like, sure, man, come on over. So I go to his house and he looks at me and he's like, dude, you just got kicked out of your house. Your wife doesn't want you there. You got nothing else to do. Why don't we go to the bar? I'm like, that sounds like a great idea because now I have a reason to drink. My wife just kicked me out of the house. I have a legitimate reason to go drinking now. So we go to the bar. We drink. I get shit-faced. As I'm leaving the bar, less than 24 hours later, I rear end somebody at the Redmond. And I get out of my truck and I look down, and he had a tow hitch on the back of his truck. His truck was fine. There was absolutely nothing wrong. But now my front bumper's smashed in. And I look at him, I'm like, "You okay, man?" He said, "Yeah, I'm okay." I was like, "Your truck's okay. You're okay. I'm out of here." And I slapped him on his back. I got in my truck and I took off because I knew I was going to jail. I was drunk driving. I caused an accident. I was going to jail. Get to my buddy's house and I'm like, "Man, I can't stay here, dude." I was like, I got to go figure this out. Can't go home. I'm just going to go be by myself and just figure some stuff out. So I grab my stuff and I leave. Well, as I leave, I stop at the liquor store and get another sleeve of Fireball whiskey. And I go and I park at a park and ride where people park their cars and grab the train to go to work for the day. And I sit in the parking lot. I turn my phone off because I don't want to talk to nobody. I don't want nobody to call me. I just want to be by myself. I want to seclude myself and drink and feel sorry for myself and go through all the bad shit that I've done and put my family through and just feel like a real piece of crap. So I turn my phone off and I sit there for 48 hours, drinking and passing out, not eating anything. And I'm freezing. It's at the end of February. It's still like 30 degrees here in Maryland. It's freezing. And after 48 hours, I turn my phone on at 7 after 10 in the morning, March 5th. And at 9 after 10, 2 minutes later, after having my phone off for 48 hours, the phone rings. And I pick it up. I'm like, "Hello." And it's my childhood friend, Brandon Novak. And he's like, "Lodging, what the fuck are you doing?" And I said, "Man, I'm cold. I'm hungry. I'm tired. I'm drunk." And he says, "Good, motherfucker. That's what you need. I just got off the phone with your wife and your mom. I have a plane ticket set for you this evening at 8:30 p.m. You're going to go down to Banyan Treatment Centers in West Palm Beach, Florida, and you're going to go get help." And I'm like, "Okay, man. Yeah, okay. He's like, "Tim, get on that plane." He's like, I want you to call me when you pass security because I want to make sure you're getting on the plane. You're not going to get dropped off at the airport and catch a cab and leave. Call me when you get to the airport." So I hang up the phone. I'm like, "Man, I don't know if I want to go. My mind's racing now." 5-10 minutes goes by. My wife calls. She's like, "Hey, Tim, I just got off the phone with Brandon. Can you please come home, take a shower, pack your bags, maybe take a nap and try to eat something?" We had about 4 or 5 hours for the plane left. I'm like, "Okay, I'll come home." I go home. I take a shower. I couldn't eat, man. Drinking for 48 hours. Now my stomach's in knots. I'm having anxiety and panic attacks because now I got to go to rehab in Florida. How long am I going for? How the hell did I get my life this messed up to where I got to go to rehab to get my shit together? And my mind's racing. I couldn't take a nap. And I'm really just like, what the hell did I do? How did my life get this bad? And I'm sitting on the edge of the bed. And about 2 to 3 minutes goes by and my addiction grabs me by the hand and walks me to the basement of my house and throws a rope around my neck and stands me up on a bucket and tells me to end the pain. And I listen and I go down to my basement and I put a rope around my neck and I stand up on a bucket. And about 3-4 minutes goes by. My wife realizes that I'm not in the bedroom anymore. And she comes down into the basement and she sees me in the corner of the basement in the dark with a rope around my neck, hysterically crying, standing on the bucket. She says, "What are you doing?" And I just look at her and I say, "I can't do it. I can't. I just want the pain to stop. I don't know how. I just can't do this anymore. I want it to stop." And she just looks at me and says, "Please, Tim, please. Do you know what this would do to your children? Please get down and get on that plane this evening. Everything is going to be all right. Just please get down." And I sat there for about a minute and then I took the rope off my neck and I fall to the floor and I'm crying. And I go upstairs and I call my buddy. I'm like, "Hey, man, I got to go." If I don't get on that plane this evening, my addiction's going to kill me. I have to go. And all he says is, I'm proud of you. I love you. Call me when you pass security. So my mom picks me up and takes me to the airport. I get past security and I call my buddy. I'm like, hey man, I'm past security. I got about 30, 35 minutes before the plane boards. Just want to let you know that I'm here. And all he says is, I'm proud of you. I love you. You're about to get back everything that you've lost times 10. And he hangs up the phone. As I go to sit down in the seat, waiting for them to call my boarding pass, as I sit down in the chair, I get this overwhelming feeling of hope that comes over my entire body. It was a warm blanket feeling, just like the pain pills gave me, just like the whiskey gave me. It came over my entire body. My anxiety went away. My panic attack went away. My racing thoughts went away. My worrying went away. And this voice that I've never heard before, in a calming, loving manner, says, everything's going to be all right. It was the most amazing feeling and experience that I've ever felt in my entire life. At that moment, when I heard that voice and my body went completely calm, I knew at the age of 44 years old, I was finally going to get the help I needed to save my life. I got on the plane. I got to rehab. I accepted rehab with open arms. I had no doubt that it was going to help me this time. I get in there. I went to every single meeting. There were 7 meetings a day. I went to all 7 meetings a day. I went to extra meetings for veterans and first responders. I spoke. I journaled. I did the homework that they asked me to do. I did every single thing that they asked me to do in rehab. Plus, I went a little bit over. I actually went kind of addicted mode in rehab. I changed my diet. They had a personal trainer there. I started working out with a personal trainer Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I told myself if I was going to do this and I was going to live the life of recovery and sobriety, that I was going to do it 100%. And that's mentally, spiritually, and physically. I didn't just want to work the steps of sobriety and recovery. I wanted to live it. So for me, that meant changing my diet, getting my physical activity in, reading, praying, doing everything that they told us to do and taking it seriously, because at that point in my life, I knew I was there to save my life. This wasn't a game. I had tried to take my life once. I was about to do it a second time. I thought about it when I was in my 20s, and all it did was get worse and worse and worse. So for me, recovery was a life and death situation at that point. When I got there and they did all the exams on me and took my blood and the blood pressure and heart rate and stuff, my blood pressure was 169 over 145. I was on the verge of having a stroke. My liver and kidneys were 4 times what they should have been. And the doctor looks at me and asked me how much I drank. And I told him, and he was like, I don't know how you haven't had a stroke yet. He's like, but if you continue to drink like this for the next year and a half, you will not make it to the age of 47 years old. He said, you literally came in at the right time to reverse your liver and kidneys. He said, if you would have waited any more, he said, the damage would have been irreversible and you ultimately would have died from alcoholism. It was at that point that I stopped believing in coincidences, that I truly believed at that time in my life that it was meant to be for me to get the help needed to save my life. And I dwelled on it for the first week or two of why did I have to suffer for 27 years? Why was I an addict? Why did my mental health have to deteriorate? Why me? And the more I got sober, the more I did research, the more I read, the more I started living life of recovery, I finally realized that it wasn't happening to me, it was happening for me. I had to go through that experience to be able to share my story with those who are still suffering with mental illness and addiction, for me to be genuine and to tell the truth of how it affected me and my loved ones. to have the authenticity. I used to be like, why 27 years? Why couldn't it have been a couple of years? Because I wouldn't have been grateful. I would have shit on it. I wouldn't have taken it seriously. I take it seriously now. I am grateful to be alive. I'm grateful that my wife didn't leave me. I'm grateful that my children accept me back and that I'm sober and they want me in their lives. I'm grateful now that I finally found my purpose in life. And that is to share my story with as many people as possible in hopes that they know that they are not alone. Their pain is not theirs alone. Others suffer. There is help out there. We can recover and we can live the life we have always wanted to do. Recovery is possible. I gave up hope several times and it almost cost me my life. If you're watching this and you think that you're alone or you're ashamed that you have an addiction or mental health issue, I assure you that you're not alone. Don't be ashamed. Ask for the help that you need to save your life. You are loved. Your family members love you. Your friends love you. You are needed. You are a special person. The probability of us being born is 1 in 400 trillion. We are special when we were born. We're all here for a purpose. We all have a reason, and we can find it. Don't lose hope. Don't. As long as we have hope, anything can change for us, and we can live the life that we've always wanted to live.
That's some great advice. It really is. You got some story.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And you know, I leave a lot of stuff out. Some things I don't think I'm still ready to share. Personal things that happened, you know, like to my daughter, that I took it upon myself. I mean, you know what? I'll share it. My oldest daughter at the age of 16, was raped, was drugged and raped at a party. And as a father, it killed me because I thought I was supposed to be her protector. I was supposed to watch over her and make sure that nothing like that ever happens. And that hit me hard. And I went into a deep depression after that happened because I thought I failed as a person. I failed as a father. I failed as a husband. And during the interview process of the detectives asking my daughter what happened, it came out that my brother had molested her 3 times. And I didn't know how to deal with that. And somebody I looked up to for a very long time, somebody that I loved. And I felt deceived. And to be frankly honest with you, I wanted to kill him. That was my first reaction. And I drank. I tried to drink it away. I tried to drug it away. And all it did was make it worse. All it did was make me more depressed and more sad at the fact that I wasn't there. There was nothing I could do to stop that. And I'm just starting to really realize that I can't hold myself accountable for something that I didn't know about. But it took me down for a very long time. And it made my mental illness and my addiction worse because I really then thought I was a failure. You know, as a human being, you don't wish anything on anybody. You really don't. And all I want is to be able to, I don't want to forget it because I'm learning to forgive. But that is a very, very, very hard one to forgive anybody for doing. I don't think I ever will forgive, but I need to do something in order to continue to heal, continue to be a better person, and continue to stay sober and in recovery. That has been one of the hardest hurdles I've had to deal with, getting sober and being in recovery. My children are everything to me. And it really did make me feel like I had let them down. I had let her down. And, I want people to understand that when those type of things in your life happen that you can't change, what has really helped me a lot is the Serenity Prayer. It really has. When I've looked at things that I cannot change, I've learned to accept them, and I've learned to know the difference between what I can change and what I can't. And that has helped me a lot. These little tools that you learn in recovery and sobriety, these little sayings, one day at a time, keep it simple, stupid, think, time, things I must earn. Learning these tools in sobriety and recovery has helped me immensely to stay sober and in recovery. It's not just there to help us through the first 90 days. It's there to help us change our lives completely. I sometimes wish that normal people could do the 12 steps because it changes you as a person. It changes your perspective on life. It gives you gratitude to be alive and the things that you have. It helps you to make amends to people that maybe things you've been holding on for years and really hurt your heart. Finally, you're able to let go. It just really helps me now. I'm coming up on 17 months sober in a week, or 2 weeks, sorry. And I read every day. I read something about sobriety or recovery every single day. I pray every day. And that's one thing. I never believed in a higher power until I got sober. My mindset was like, if there's something out there, I'm not saying God or Jesus, I'm just saying a higher power, something. If there's something out there, why am I suffering like this? Why do others suffer like this? Why do children go starving? Why are people murdered? That was my mindset. Now I realized, things happen for us. They happen for us. And once I switched that perspective, once I changed that mindset, everything changed. I used to be the glass half full guy. Now, where's the rest of it? Why isn't my glass all the way to the top? I need more. Now I look at it as at least I have half a glass full, and I'm fine with that because I'm content now. Somebody walked into the gym one day and they looked like they were having a problem. I'm like, you okay? They're like, man, I had to go to work this morning. Now I got to come to the gym. Now I got to go home, clean up, and make dinner. And I said, why don't you change one word in that sentence? And what do you mean? I said, you get to wake up in the morning and go to work. You get to go to the gym. You get to go to a home to clean up and make dinner for your family. I said, be grateful for everything you get to do. Some people can't get up in the morning, or some people don't get up in the morning. Some people don't have jobs to go to. Some people physically can't walk into a gym and do exercise. Some people don't have families to cook dinner for. Be extremely thankful for what you have and appreciate every day. And that's what I'm trying to do every single day. I wake up and I thank my higher power for another day. And I ask him to help me reach as many people as possible. That's what I truly believe my purpose is now.
That's great. One of the things that stuck out to me also earlier is when you said time. What is it?
Things I must earn.
Things I must earn. That was it. Yeah, that's good. I like that. It stood out to me.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And my oldest daughter, she's 23. And when I first came home from rehab, I was like, look at me, I did 32 days in rehab. Woo, I want to pat on my back. And my daughter lived upstairs in my house, and she would walk in the house, not say a word to me, not look at me, just go right upstairs to her bedroom. And I look at my wife, I'm like, why isn't she talking to me? She's like, Tim, you drank her entire life. Yeah, there were some good times, but she's seen a lot of shitty times. She's seen the worst of her dad, and she's not ready to speak to you. I'm like, I just did 32 days in rehab. Look at me. She's like, give it time. I'm like, okay. A month goes by, 2 months goes by, like 6 months goes by, I'm sober. My daughter still hasn't talked to me. I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, I'm putting in the work. I'm going to meetings. I got a sponsor. I'm doing the steps. What the deal? She's like, Tim, just give it time. Just give it time. And this is before I heard things I must earn. And I'm like, okay. Finally, on the 9 month of my sobriety, the day of the 9 month actual day, I get a text message from my daughter, and she's like, Dad, I know we haven't spoken, but I just want you to know how proud I am of you. I love you. Thank you for letting me have the time to heal, because I know you were healing as well. But I just want you to know that I love you, and I'm really proud to have my dad back. And man, I no amount of money can put that feeling on that special day. And I told my wife, she got home from work, I said, look what your daughter texted me. And I read it to her. She started to cry. And she's like, see, I told you, just give it time. Just give it time. And I said that to my sponsor. And that's when he looked at me. He was like, yeah, time, things I must earn. I was like, man, I wish you would have told me that months ago. Like, that would have helped me out a big time. Here I am, like, why isn't she talking to me? And she's like, Tim, I told you, she needed to see your actions, not your words. She needed to see that you were living in recovery, not just saying you were going to meetings, not just saying you were sober, but change your life completely and actually live the life of recovery. Because being sober and being in recovery are two different things. You could just not drink or not do drugs and be a completely miserable, angry person. Recovery, I believe, gives you the tools and the steps to be a completely different human being.
And a happy one at that.
Absolutely. Yeah, you have more gratitude. I believe you have more gratitude with everything that comes your way, and you're able to accept things a lot easier and look at it again. It doesn't happen to you; it's happening for you, and that's the way I look at everything. In January, the job I was at for the last 3 years came to an end. They didn't have any more work. We were working on apartment buildings. And usually that would make me freak out and drink and oh my God, I lost another job, this, that, and the other. I got on the phone and called somebody that I used to work with. And he's like, yeah, you can start Monday and I'll give you a $10 an hour raise. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, wow. Like, I lost that job to get something better.
Yep, it happens.
And before I would have dwelled on it for weeks and not picked up the phone and called anybody and been behind on my bills and that might have spiraled me down. But looking at things that happen for you, not to you, has just completely changed my life as well for pretty much everything that I do.
Great. So it seems like a good place to wrap up. Did you have anything else that you wanted to add?
Well, I'm open on my Instagram page as far as if anybody ever has any questions or needs to speak to somebody, or they just they want some advice, or anything that has to do with mental illness or recovery or addiction. My messaging is completely open, and I message everybody back. If I get a message and they ask me, what did you do for recovery? Or I'm having a bad day, do you have a minute? I always respond to every single message. So if you're out there and you feel as if you need somebody to talk to, if you need somebody to answer a question, or you just need a friend to hear what is going on, I am available on my Instagram page at TLodgen, and it's open to everybody from mental illness and addiction.
That's great. Appreciate your work you do.
I finally feel as if I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing in life. And the best part about it is I don't make money doing this. I don't get sponsors because of doing this. I generally feel as if I have to do this. And there's no other better feeling in the world when you're actually doing something that you're passionate about.
Yeah. No, I know the feeling. I know the feeling.
I feel worthy.
Yeah, that's a great word. That is a great word to describe it, worthy. Yeah, I love doing this stuff, so this keeps me sober.
And thank you for having a podcast for people to come on and share their story, because without people like you who have podcasts, people like me wouldn't be able to share my story, and we wouldn't be able to reach people all over the world, because I know podcasts go everywhere. So thank you for broadening our audience to be able to listen to these messages of hope, strength, and courage.
Yeah, thank you for your words of kindness. I really just want to give back. That's all I really want to do. So I figure this is a way of being a service.
That's awesome, man. I love what you're doing. Thank you so much.
Awesome. And for everyone else, like what you heard and saw, please click below and give us a like. Also subscribe to see when we upload new videos. You can also find us at www.addicts-anonymous.com. There you can find plenty of resources, as well as our approved literature. There's a ton of free articles there available. You can also check us out on Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, Instagram, and TikTok. So I hope everyone liked what they saw and heard today. And that's all we have. So until next time.